The preliminaries are done. They're moving on to the final rounds.
While all these countries are busy racing to expand their military might, the birds are still singing. I believe that this country of ours has been at peace for far, far too long.
Then let me do it.
I don't know. How much fun would it be to take out an old man like the Hokage anyway?
So that's how it is. What's the problem? You're not still having second thoughts about it, are you, Orochimaru? From now on, each of the hidden villages will clash with each other in a long and violent struggle. Even the Sound Village won't escape that violence. And it's your intention to be the trigger for all that hostility by using Sasuke as a bullet. Isn't that correct?
All right, we are now recording. Make sure it's on full screen. So yeah, all right, so we're all good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and get this thing on the wire. So introduce yourself. Who's Henry Dittman I'm speaking to this on Friday?
I'll introduce myself. My name's Henry Dittman. I'm the voice of Kabuto on Naruto. I'm the voice of Golden Ryan on Tiger and Bunny. I was Kafka Sunbeam on Zatch Bell. I got about 100 IMDb credits. I've been in about 20 TV shows and a bunch of movies. I've done 115 television commercials, voiceover commercials out the yin yang. I was a voice of Volkswagen forever. I'm a theater actor with Sacred Fools Theater in Los Angeles. Honestly, if you can do it in front of a microphone or a camera with your clothes on, that's what I do for a living.
That's sweet. That's sweet. That's nice to know, man.
Yeah, man. And now recently, that's 20 years. Like probably what I'm best known for is I was the dad on a show called 100 Things to Do Before High School with Isabella Merced was the lead in that, and I'm that very well known for that. Prank Encounters on Netflix. I was a writer and an actor on that show with Gaten Matarazzo from Stranger Things. I'm mostly recognized too from commercials, but obviously what I'm most known for, and the reason why I'm sure you are having me on your podcast is because of playing Kabuto on Naruto for like 20 years, which is like one of the greatest experiences of my career so far.
So, but there's still more. There's still more to cover than just the anime side. I know there's a lot going on because I made sure to do a lot of research on you before I got this thing started.
Okay. So, all right. Well, we'll see. I'm ready to get quizzed.
All right. So I divide this up. I got 20 questions, and I divide up into 4 segments. So 5 questions for each section.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
see if we make it that far. I'm very verbose. So we'll see. Maybe we should make a hand signal. You could be like, if I'm talking too long, it'll be real subtle, and you can be like, Henry, shut up.
Nah, I'm not that cool, man. I'm not. But I'll let you know.
All right.
So part 1, the origins and journey. Now, from what I've read about you, you said that you grew up moving around quite a bit. Is that correct?
It's true. Yeah, I'm a military kid. And I mean deep. Like both my grandfathers were World War II bomber pilots who went on to become full bird colonels in the Air Force. I'm almost the only male member of my family that didn't do military service. And so we moved. I lived in all over the country. And then also I lived on Guam for 3 years, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, which is a tiny island in the Pacific Ocean, and was maybe one of the most formative experiences in my life because it was, especially after a lot of my roots are in the deep South, East Texas, Panhandle, Florida. I went to Ole Miss. But in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I had the experience of living on Guam where white people are the minority. And that was a pretty formative experience for me being on the other side. It's an American territory, but there's definitely, when I was living there definitely was pockets of anti-American, anti-white sentiment there. So that was a pretty big experience for me, but I moved all over. By the time I'd moved to LA, I'd probably lived in 6 to 8 different cities. And now I've lived here 25 years, and that's the longest I've lived anywhere.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's a great life though. I'm very like pro military service, pro armed forces, and it was a wonderful way to grow up. And then by the time I was 18, I had no interest in living that life.
Okay. So, and following that question, did that influence your ability to step into different characters?
Yeah, I think it probably, I was definitely a class clown, and I would bet that was my coping mechanism to moving every 4 years.
Okay.
And then you also have to figure if a lot of your friends are military kids, or if you're living on military bases, which we didn't do most of the time. We lived off base. But that also meant your friends were moving every 4 years. So you were starting over almost every school year. So I'm sure part of how I dealt with moving all the time was getting laughs and getting attention. And definitely I'm a comedic actor first.
Yeah.
But also you get pretty good at adapting to different scenarios and different situations. And yeah, that probably is a certain amount of what got me into the business, without a doubt.
But hey, I know from what I've read from previous voice actors, every voice actor must have a beginning story somewhere. It just takes time for me to understand. Okay, they've done a lot of previous projects before they got into the world of voice acting, and I know it's not like, oh, this perfect stuff don't happen overnight. It's like a step by step, day by day process. It does, it might take a few years, but it's worth the wait.
Yeah, I mean, I was very, I think you create your own luck. I got into the business in a time where the overall feeling was that you should specialize in the thing you want to do and just do that thing. But when I got into the business, I first moved to LA. One of the first people I met, I was like, do you have any advice? And they were like, yeah, don't do background work. Don't be an extra. And you should do Playboy Channel softcore movies, because it's not real nudity and you could get your SAG card. And I sat, and the very next day I signed up for extra work. I was like, okay, so I'm going to do the opposite of what this person's advice was. But at the time, I remember sitting at a bar one night and somebody saying, man, you're doing everything in the business that you can get your hands on, but people aren't going to take you seriously unless you specialize. And really where I broke into the business was as a host. And I was hosting, like, USA Network used to have these things where they'd show a movie on Saturday morning or Friday night, and then every commercial break they'd cut to a makeover or whatever. So that was my first thing, was hosting. I hosted stuff for Cartoon Network and E! And USA Network. It's a massive list of the host travel shows, makeover shows. And I remember saying to this guy, well, I've been doing this about 5 years. I'm starting to make my living. At that point, I was shifting into, I'd done a couple of TV roles. And he was like, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a sitcom actor. That's my heart. But I really just want to be busy. I think work begets work. I'll get to the rest of my thought on that later. But he said, well, I think you got to specialize. If you want to do sitcoms, you should say no to everything except sitcoms. And I said to him, well, I've been doing this 5 years. This is what's working for me. And this guy had literally never worked in the business. And I was like, well, how long have you been out here? And he said, about 15 years. And again, it was a situation of, I kept coming. I through my whole career came up against people with very big opinions who I don't know where those opinions came from. And so I kept doing everything, but always worried that I should have specialized. And then over the course of the last 15 years, when Friends was on the air and was the most popular show on television, those actors they only wanted to do movies. Then think about every sitcom that's come out in the last, think about Modern Family. I know that's not a brand new show, but when Modern Family came out, every one of those actors was in a commercial. The business has changed. Like, you've got major movie stars doing podcasts. You've got major movie stars doing guest stars on streaming television shows. So I was fortunate that I didn't take that advice. And so again, if you can do it, I do it, but it's partially because I don't like to wait around. I've produced my own TV shows. I've produced plays. I've produced sketch comedy shows that became TV shows we shot. I've never sold a TV show, but I'm always in the habit of wanting to turn what I'm doing into more work. And now increasingly those people who told me I should have specialized have come to me saying, man, I should have kept doing everything, because now everybody wants to do it all. And my friends who are like the two people that are the three people who I'm closest with out of the Naruto cast over the years, Yuri Lowenthal, Tara Platt, and Miley Flanagan. They all do TV. They all produce, like Yuri and Tara are always producing original content. They've produced half the interactive stuff that they've been, and I bet Miley is recurring on I think Abbott Elementary. So,
yeah.
so like we're all doing all of it. And I used to say I remember saying to an acting teacher in an acting class, God, I do everything because I've never hit it big enough with anything to make a living, although that's not really fair. I guess if I'd wanted to cut stuff off. And she pulled me aside after class and she said, not everybody can do everything. This may be back to your question about the military stuff. Mm-hmm. I can walk into a radio commercial job and I know how to adapt to, I understand the assignment. And I can do a lead in a movie and I can understand the assignment and I can do I just feel like I have, golly, you're really making me think. Phil, maybe like this may be why I've been able to adapt, is because I have had to be very adaptable in my life, but I also love it. I love all these different things. I love to be challenged by the different genres.
It's nice. I will say this relating to your stuff. I graduated. I went to college. I graduated, got my bachelor's degree in media production journalism. Now, at first, when I first started, it was supposed to be sports management, but then I realized that's not what I wanted to do. So I decided I'm into all these, as you can see, I'm wearing my Guardians of the Galaxy shirt today. Because I'm into all these superheroes and comics and media, and I like the media. I like these things. So I decided to go to do switch to media production and journalism, because that's like my really strong suit. I like to cover all kinds of new stuff coming out and everything.
Yeah.
I did do photography too. I take pictures of models and everything, but after a while, I had an incident in April. It just didn't work out very good. So I decided to put photography back on the shelf, and I had to think to myself, what else can I do? I had to brainstorm and go back to my college playbook. Like, okay, what else can I do besides just photography? Because that's what I've been doing for the last few months. So I thought to myself and said, well, I've done 3 documentaries. I've done the history of, by the way, I'm in Savannah, Georgia. I've done the history about Savannah. It was all about the segregation laws and everything. And then you had talking about people with mental health problems and Black History Month. So I figured I've done 3 documentaries and I do like talking to people and having these interviews. So that's how this came into pass, the whole podcast idea. So I just figured, hey, I didn't get my media production degree for nothing, I got to put it to good use. Now I'm back in school trying to do cybersecurity. I'll be done by Christmas. Okay. I just figured I want to have something a little extra. While the media area is good and all, it can be limited. There's really not a lot of media jobs going on these days. And now you got, people starting their own shows on YouTube, the whole podcast and online business is moving because right now what the state of the country is, a lot of people don't trust a lot of mainstream media networks these days. Heard. So it's like, hey, that's why we have these podcasts and online stuff, and it's working out so far. To be honest with me, I'm not really trying to do this for money. I'm just here to put information out there and let y'all decide for yourselves.
Hey, if you're a sponsor and you're listening right now, he is interested in doing it for money. He still would be looking for sponsorship dollars. So don't listen. He would like the money. Don't say no to the money. Don't say no to the money. But it's definitely not the reason to be creative. And I think the hardest part about my business for people about creating things and all of that is the waiting.
Right.
Waiting is the hardest part. So if you're making your own content, you're not waiting. And I just started in the last year and a half doing fan meet and greets. For years, other cast members have been saying I've been missing out on a really beautiful experience. And they were right. It's beautiful meeting the fans. But a lot of people come to me asking for advice on getting to the business. And my advice is to immediately be terrible at it. Don't wait, immediately make something. Immediately. We have so much in our phones. We have editing software. We have professional cameras. We have different settings. I just got the new iPhone. It's cinematic setting and all these wild camera effects. Nope. They are shooting commercials that you are watching. They are shooting them on iPhones.
We all got all kinds of stuff. Listen, I also got a GoPro camera in March. I've been getting a lot of. I've been upgrading my technology.
Yeah, and there's no reason why you couldn't. South Park was made originally with just stop motion, moving those little drawings. Now they use computer programs, but you can get editing software for your iPad. You can make an animated project. So it's about the creative. I believe creative energy is God energy. I just think there's nothing better for me. I'm a creative person, so I love being creative. And I treat my auditions like performances. I treat them as an opportunity. I don't treat them like a job interview. And so if somebody reaches out to me and says, I'm making some little sketch and I just need you to shoot a video on your green screen and I'm going to put it into my sketch, I literally value that just as much as a television show or a movie or a national commercial. It's such a blessing to get to be creative all day long. And so if you're not getting paid, like I host a Clippers podcast. We don't make really money to speak of doing that. We get free Clippers tickets. That's pretty good. Media passes and all of that, but it fills me up on the days where I'm waiting for the next job to drop. So that's great, man. That's great. And you get into cybersecurity, you can still do a podcast. You get a podcast about cybersecurity. I would watch it.
Yeah, I am thinking about doing something like that. Maybe talk about the do's and don'ts, what to look out for. Because I know last class we talked about black hat hackers, gray hat hackers, white hat hackers. It was really interesting to listen to because I figured maybe I might want to have maybe do a little another thing called let's talk about what this part of cybersecurity means and what we can probably do about that. Because because I know I'm destined for more stuff to happen. I think the more I keep putting myself out there and keep having these talk shows and have these experiences, talking to you guys, it's the only way we can make it work. Because I know after I'm done, I have found some jobs that are based on the West Coast, like Sony, Crunchyroll, all that stuff. They have a lot of engineering jobs that I didn't know they had. I was like, maybe I could go work over on the West Coast and I might be getting introduced to more opportunities working with you guys.
Nice. Absolutely, man.
So, what was the moment you knew acting or specifically voice acting was the path for you?
Well, it came out of a failure. We moved around a lot. When I came back from Guam, I moved back to Florida where I had spent our previous station, and I tried out for the soccer team.
Right.
I hadn't played soccer since I was in first grade or kindergarten. I had no business trying out for soccer, and I didn't have cleats and I didn't have shin guards, but I wanted to be a part of a community. So I tried out for soccer. I literally didn't know what the positions were. They'd throw me out on the field and I didn't know what offsides was. I knew how to kick, and not even that very well. But I had a lot of heart. And so they got to the final cut. It came down to 3 final people in the cut. I made it through 3 cuts, and there were 3 of us left. One of them became the equipment manager. One of them became the backup goalie. And the coach pulled me aside and he said, Hank, nobody has ever gotten closer to making a soccer team not being a soccer player as you. This is not for you. You're amazing. You have so much heart. You almost made this team and you literally don't know what you're doing. And all week, the drama teacher had been asking me if I would do the Christmas play, and I kept saying no. And I literally walked sweaty in my t-shirt and shorts, walked straight to the drama teacher's classroom, was like, you still have a part for me in the play? And that's really what was my first performance of any. And then I think, as far I don't think I ever really turned back. I think I kept trying to find reasonable things to do with that skill. I'd said to my guidance counselor, hey, I think I want to go into broadcasting and be an anchorman. I had a military family who was trying to help me find the reasonable thing to do with having a public type personality and outgoing public speaking personality. But in the end, what I really loved was entertaining. As far as what pushed me into voice acting, it just was something that opened up for me when I was in Los Angeles trying to get work. I was trying to get any kind of work I could. I'd done a couple of commercials and a TV show, and a wonderful casting director was looking at non-voiceover actors. I was at an agency that had a lot of young actors, a lot of kids and stuff, and I was only 25, so I was still playing a teenager. And my agent said, hey, I got this. If you need any adults, I've got this guy, Henry Dittman. You should meet him. And she put me in Xenosaga 2, which is a video game I dubbed.
Really?
And I literally didn't even know how to do dubbing. The way dubbing works is that you're in a booth by yourself. They play the Japanese version or whatever the foreign language version is. You read the English line so you know it. And then it goes it's like a click track with drumming. You hear beep, 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 talk. So it's like they don't say talk, but like you speak, and it helps you get your rhythm. Beep, beep, beep. Hi, here's my line. I'm talking. And so the beeps came. They're like beep, beep, beep. I'm standing there. They're like, okay, let's try again, Henry. Here we go. Beep, beep, beep. Nothing. And they go, Henry, the beeps are when you talk.
All right.
I was like, oh, I know. I didn't hear them. I had something in my throat. Like so that was my first voiceover job. And it all happened just because I was trying to say yes to everything. But I came up watching anime, but I'm old. So I was watching like Robotech and Voltron with the lions, not with the cars. I watched the cars one too, but we all know.
I know.
And then even around that time was when Evangelion, which I don't know if you watched that. It's such a mind warp, that show. That had come out. I think me and my roommate at the time watched it on VHS. We had DVDs, but you couldn't get it on DVD. So I already was an anime head enough that when I got on Naruto, I knew to take it seriously. I didn't know what a phenomenon it was, but Naruto was really my first voiceover job that wasn't a video game, was Naruto. And then all of a sudden I'm thrown into like one of the greatest anime. It's like what, top 3, right?
Yes,
like
top 3.
That One Piece,
Dragon Ball, all that stuff.
Dragon Ball Z. It's so top 3. But for the acting, it basically was born out of not making a soccer team.
Yeah, that's cool. And
I think, by the way, now I'm having a little breakthrough realization too. I think I really have always gotten a lot of joy out of making people laugh. My favorites, I've always loved comedies. I was raised on reruns of old shows like the Carol Burnett Show and Laugh-In, and then sketch shows like reruns of Monty Python and Kids in the Hall and Saturday Night Live and all that. And I always wanted that. I love to laugh. I love to make people laugh. And I think I saw quickly that I had a gift for something where I could do that. And it's still my favorite thing to do.
That's nice. And listen, I'll tell you from my experience, sometimes we just find ourselves on this grand journey where we have to figure out what are we going to be remembered for? Like what kind of stuff that we've done to make an impact on our lives. This could inspire generations to come who might want to do something that they can like voice act or any other type of like production or kind of artwork they're trying to do. By the way, I blame my sister for this. She got me into Naruto. So I've been watching the shows and everything. So I was like, when I heard you were coming on, I was like, well, sure, I can talk with him because I've watched the show. So I know exactly what to do now.
Nice.
I have to say thank you to my sister again. So, but it's just, I think it's just like, just taking one day at a time, understanding like you don't have to do everything in like one piece. Because I know you struggle a few times. I know when you first started, you had a few hiccups in the voice box section, but perfection doesn't happen over time. It takes you have to like how can I say this? You just gotta make sure that you find the rhythm or the beat. Just find the beat in what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, raw talent is pretty special, and if you don't take yourself too seriously, then those little hiccups are not that big of a deal. I've been in so many auditions with actors who make a mistake and then they're apologizing and then they start to get in their own head because sometimes we read together in pairs. She said, I'm sorry, I messed that up. And I'll never forget a story a director told me where he was casting for a little girl in a commercial, singing and dancing. And the first girl came in and was amazing. Beautiful voice, perfect singing. And she finished and then she started self-defeating. Oh, I'm sorry, I could have done better. Oh, I was a mess. It was so bad. She left. The next girl came in and was not good. The next girl came in, was terrible. She was off key. She didn't get the dance right, but she finished and went, thank you. Thank you. She like acted like she had crushed it. And this director told me so clearly, he said, I need you to know this. I could not convince anyone else in the room that the good girl was good and the bad girl was bad. They all believed the story that these girls showed when it was over. And so I think you have to also, you're going to stumble. You're going to make mistakes. They aren't really mistakes. They're just like you learn. It's just a learning process. And if you don't make it uncomfortable when you make a mistake like that, you just roll it off, say, well, I think people want that, especially in the creative arts. They don't want people that make everything difficult. We want it to be comfortable and fun and collaborative and easy. So, yeah, it was a hiccup. I also had one. I talk about this. Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt have a great book you can buy online about getting into voiceover, and they came to a lot of their voiceover friends and got anecdotes. There's something in voiceover called the ABC. And so if there's a line, they're not quite getting it, or sometimes they just want to try something new. They'll say, hey, for this line, hey, go get yourself a new Hyundai. They're like, hey, can you give us ABC, Henry? And you'd be like, yeah, okay. Hey, go get yourself a new Hyundai. Go get yourself a new Hyundai. Go get yourself a new Hyundai. And that's like an ABC take, 3 different takes. The first time I was doing a voiceover radio job, it was attached to a big on-camera campaign. All the other cast were in the booth watching me do my lines. And they go, hey, Henry, let's do ABC on this one. I'm like, okay, great. No problem. And rolling. And I go, ABC. And I just said ABC. And everyone starts rolling, laughing. And all the actors are falling out. And the engineer's banging on the... And it's like... And I could have been humiliated by that. But instead I was like, well, okay, now I know. Now I got it. So I think you can't let the defeats be too defeating.
Well, sometimes it's okay to have those like moments. You stumble, you just pick yourself back up and just keep moving.
Yeah.
So, onward to the next one. How did your time at University of Mississippi, that's where you went, right? University of Mississippi, prepare you for this industry?
Oh, well, I was going to school in Florida, community college in Florida, and all the Florida colleges were recruiting me. And I knew that I needed geographically to start moving towards New York or Los Angeles. I knew that.
Okay.
And so in the middle of being recruited by Florida universities, and there's great theater schools in the state of Florida, University of Mississippi called, and long story short, my professor knew that I had been directing and producing and writing and doing all these other things. And he said point blank, you would get a better start in the industry as an actor going to one of these Florida schools, maybe. Wow. But if you go to University of Mississippi, you're going to get to build your own education. They're going to let you have your own say, and they're an up and coming program, and he's like, I just think that's the fit. And sure enough, in one of my first meetings with the chair of the department, Jim Schollenberger, rest in peace, who was such a big influence for me. The whole conversation was, you're going to have an opportunity here to build your own education. You're going to get to be a leader in the undergrads. You're going to get to produce shows. You're going to get to write shows. You're going to get to do more than just learn how to act here. And that was exactly my experience. I produced nights of monologues. I was in the modern dance company. So for a long time, I thought I was going to be a dancer. It turned out that was not where my life was taking me. I got to be in musical reviews doing singing and dancing. I got to do black box small theater shows. I got to be a lighting designer. My work study was in the costume shop. My other work study was in the scenic shop, building sets and hanging lights. And so it got me prepared in the moment where in my first semester, I was in the main stage show singing and dancing. And then I started to feel like this isn't as satisfying to me. I want to do something gritty. I don't want to do something mainstream. I want to do something gritty. There was a support system there to support me finding a bar called the Hoka, this awesome bar, and putting up a night of monologues with other actors who were like, yeah, I want to do something nasty. I want to do something weird. And so that's how it prepared me. It prepared me to not just think of myself as, oh, if I get a lead in the play, I'm done. And so all along in my career, when things were going great, was more when I'd be on a TV show or I'd be making a lot of money on commercial. That's when I have always had the instinct to try something new, as opposed to when things are slow, trying something new out of a place of desperation. I would take the inspiration of success and try to make something on my own. Try to get it. Oh, now I'm going to make a demo for acting. Oh, now I'm going to make a reel for prank stuff. Oh, I'm on a prank show. I'm making good money as an actor on a prank show. I'm going to start seeing if they'll let me be in the creative meetings and see if they'll let me be a writer. And that's what eventually happened with Prank Encounters.
Okay, because so and so what I've gained from this, so the university pretty much did research on you because you were an upcoming student, so they knew that exactly, hey, this is what he's trying to do. Let's let him have his time. Let's let him be in his own creative
Maybe.
playground.
I doubt they did research on me, but I just think this is the thing too. Like most of the people I came into that school with were 19, and
Oh,
I was 23. I mean, I graduated high school, and then I toured as a touring dancer with a company through United States and Europe for a full year. Then I took 3 months off, and then worked at a technical warehouse fixing lights and sound equipment for that touring company because I was interested in doing everything. Then I did 2 years of community college, and then I went to Europe for a 3-month backpacking trip for fun because I finished in December and school didn't start until the fall. So by the time I started university, I wasn't 23, but I was at least 21, 22, and everyone else was 18, 19. And so I think I came in with a little bit more. By the time I started community college, I went from being a C student to an A student because I had that gap year. And when I came to college, I came to win. I didn't come because I was supposed to go to college and I guess I'll go to college. I went to win. And then I took that time off. And by the time I went to University of Mississippi, I didn't go because you're supposed to get an undergrad. I went because I needed to learn how to get in the business and win.
right.
And so that prevailing attitude, it does not always remain with me because now I think that of the business is more collaborative and I want other artists to win. But I think I walked in, I'm sure that it was not difficult to look at me and read, this guy's here to do something. He's not just here to do keg stands. Although I really could do a hell of a keg stand.
Okay. Okay, that's nice to know. But it's nice that you had a clear mindset of how I want to make these dreams become reality. There's an old saying, dream big or don't dream at all.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And there's another one by Winston Churchill I want to say that's like never, never, ever, ever, ever give up. It's always satisfying. I've had ups and downs in my career. I've had times where I did other things along the way. But I've always loved the pursuit of being creative.
Gotcha. Always keep that creative mindset. I think that's the key for us today, as as like content creators these days. Just keep creating because you never know what you're gonna get out of it. Just like I said, stuff does not happen overnight. Just keep focused. Like me right now, because I know since I started this whole thing back in July, it's gonna be like almost 2 months since I started this whole podcast thing. I'm just gonna keep doing stuff. I'm not really concerned. I just want to I like telling stories. I want to put stuff like this out here so people can know and let y'all decide what y'all can take from this.
Make stuff you like, right? Like my what I always would say through all of my years doing, especially doing sketch comedy and stuff like that, is that I always just would say people, I'm just trying to make myself laugh. Just try to make yourself, just do stuff you like. The rest of it will come.
Exactly. Number 4, we're almost done with this section. Who were some of your biggest inspiration early on, whether it's actors or storytellers?
I think I had a we called him an Uncle Waits Henry, who I still remember. They lived near Atlanta, and I still remember a night where we sat in his living room and he did the story of John Henry, the steel driving man who gets in the battle with the locomotive and the steam engine and wins but dies, I want to say. I still remember listening to an old Southern storyteller as people sat around. There's like such a classic moment, especially of my youth, where there was less phones and all that other junk. I think that was relatively formative for me. But I really think for me, these shows I already mentioned, Laugh-In, the Carol Burnett show. I think specifically, creatively, when I was a kid growing up, like the shows that were in reruns, this would have been the 80s. The shows that were in reruns were all these variety shows and sketch comedy shows and sitcoms from the 60s and 70s. And the Carol Burnett show had these two actors, Harvey Korman and Tim Conway, who just relentlessly cracked each other up on stage. If you ever just Google search Harvey Korman, Carol Burnett show cracking up, and you'll see what they're about. They could not keep a straight face with each other. And I think I remember watching those moments as a kid and being like, this looks like so much fun. But then that stuff, again, that all the shows I already listed, Monty Python, Kids in the Hall, Saturday Night Live. Those were the earliest and biggest influences on me creatively, without a doubt. That and Star Wars and Star Trek and Superman, the Superman movies from the 80s with Christopher Reeve. Empire Strikes Back and Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, two of the biggest influences on me outside of comedy, without a doubt.
Okay, that's nice. And you know, hey, my mom is a huge Star Wars fan, so there's that.
Yeah.
So,
Excuse me.
hey, take your time, man. You're good. All right, last part of this section. This is gonna be tricky, okay? If you hadn't gone, I'm just doing a hypothetical.
Yeah.
If you hadn't gone into voice acting or any type of acting, what do you think you'd be doing today?
Well, now I got a mortgage and I got kids and a wife and responsibilities. And so that part of my brain says I might have gone into being a lawyer, something that's still public speaking, that still puts me out there using that part of my brain. But way before I wanted to be an actor, I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
And now that I have kids, I could really see the sweet spot of like second grade, third grade, where they're just starting to learn all about life and they need some help with fine motor skills and language and stuff like that. I think I would have been an elementary school teacher if money didn't matter, because we underpay these teachers.
Wow. Okay. So at least you know, you would have had something else to do if you hadn't gone to voice acting. But
yeah,
you know, I just wanted to test that out.
I'm in a time in my life where I just like doing stuff. Like I don't know. I already have my dream, so it's easy to say I'd be happy doing anything. I don't know if this hadn't worked out, I would have had to find something else I was passionate about. I don't know where that would have come from. If not teaching, that's something you can be passionate about. You know?
You never know.
There's also people who just have jobs and their passion is their hobbies, and that's what a lot of my actor friends are like. They have jobs they do to pay the bills, and then their creativity is more like their hobby that they do, although it's the most important thing. I have a lot of respect for that. The part of me that felt like I had to pack up my entire life, and my wife did the same thing. She's a wonderful actor. She's from the East Coast. I'm from the Deep South. We both left every family member we had behind to come here because we felt like we needed to do it. And I think it's just as possible that we could have stayed in our small towns and done community theater and made a great life for ourselves and been satisfied creatively by that. But I bet I would have spent my whole life wondering what if. And I didn't want to get to this age I'm at right now saying, wow, what if I'd tried? And like I'm right now on hold for a role on a TV show that would be so much fun to do. I just shot a commercial. I just did an episode of The Loud House for Nickelodeon. You know, I wouldn't have had those things if I'd stayed somewhere else. But I also wouldn't live in one of the most expensive cities in America.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I'd probably live in the country, and that could have been sweet too. Maybe I'll still have that life.
That's nice, yeah. So we're on that section. Now it's time for section 2. Naruto and anime legacy. This is gonna be fun. So let's go into the villain here. How did you land the role of Kabuto Yakushi?
I had just done a play. I'm going to start tightening up my answers a little because I don't want you to have to be here forever with me, although I love it. I was doing a play with Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt. I played an a-hole in this play, an angel.
Oh.
I finished the play and Yuri reached out short, and I became very close with Tara and Yuri. I really love them and have a lot of respect for their work as actors. And Yuri reached out and said, I'm on this show. You got to do this show. There's a role that you'd be perfect for. And long story short, I assumed it was a hero. And I went to the audition and they were like, oh no. It was, and I've made my big breaks as an actor were all playing assholes. Lawyers and agents for famous people, or Kabuto. Like, it's fun to play the villain. You get to, when you improvise, you get to say the stuff that your brain, you think, but you shouldn't say.
Oh, yes.
You get to say that stuff. But that's really, it was Yuri who basically hooked me up with the audition and then me booking the role.
Yeah, William, I'm trying to pronounce his last name. Lowenthal. Yeah, I think I got it right. Yeah, yes. he is an absolute legend. And when he was like doing all these like Sasuke and everything, because I know you've done a few scenes with him in the
Yeah.
show because I know because I watched the show and I was like, yeah, he's had a few interactions and like playing the villain, trying to get inside Sasuke's head along with Oromachu. But it's nice that I know some of the voices that would be like, this is a big villain I want to play as. Sometimes they have to switch as the good person and the bad person. Sometimes I feel like is it easy for the voice actor to switch between the hero and the villain? But I guess it's
because you don't play with very few exceptions. There aren't that many villains. The villains don't think they're villains.
Oh, right.
The villains think that they're the hero of their own story.
Mm-hmm.
So I find it easy to switch from role to role. But again, like I did a play in Los Angeles that was a version of Sherlock Holmes called Watson, and it was very well received. And it's really what I've won awards in is theater, and that's what I won them for was this role. And in a 2-minute stretch, I played something like 12 different characters with different British accents just by switching hats. And like as a kid walking out, and literally a conversation between 3 people. But my earliest acting after that play at my junior high school was in speech competitions where you would do comedic scenes by yourself and play all the roles yourself. So you'd be one person talking over here. Well, really, darling? Yes, darling. That's exactly what I mean. You don't mean that at all. I do mean that. Mother, father, why are you yelling? And so you do a 10-minute comedic piece playing all the characters. And so for me, that's like where I got started. But that's what I was watching with Saturday Night Live and Kids in the Hall was people playing 10 roles per episode. So I haven't ever had a difficult time with that. But I think people who approach it like Daniel Day-Lewis, who plays one role and he plays it for 6 months and he spends 3 months in rehearsal and he immerses himself, he probably would have but he's also a different kind of actor. He's a better actor. But when I watch actors who are only film actors come and audition for commercials and we're in groups with each other, they struggle at it. It's a different muscle. Moving quickly. I'm an improv guy. Improv is very different from playing a role like Anthony Hopkins plays it,
Okay. And so now I understand, like, hey, they when they get the role, they just go ahead and run with it. They don't care what it is. They just we're just gonna get this thing done so people can
look what happens with Kabuto, right? In the middle of you thinking he's the worst character in the show, you learn his origin story, and it's like that's a lot. Then you're turning and you're playing what made him evil. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it.
Oh, no. I'm fine. Go ahead. Oh, that's right. You are coming. Yeah, sorry. But yeah. Sometimes even villains have backstories. Just like every hero has a backstory, even villains have backstories. It's like with Batman. All the villains, they said, because I watched Batman, the animated series called, Judge or like Court or something. Like they judged Batman saying, and that they made us the way we are. Like he did this, like he created his villains. But that's not the case. Joker was saying, and I love Mark Hamill, absolute legend. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. He's saying like, hey, so we all agree that Batman didn't create us, that we became the way we are because of our rotten lives. Yeah. So pretty much, it's just the same thing. Batman has a backstory. The villains in this series have a backstory. Same thing with these anime shows. Like every villain has a backstory. It's not. Listen, people need to stop making it just about the heroes all the time. I think that's the one fatal flaw in watching these shows. You're not paying attention to the bad guy's backstory.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it's more fun. It's more fun to see what got them there for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, next one. Kabuto is one of Naruto's most complex characters. What was your approach to capturing his voice and personality?
I really just tried to come from his point of view, which was easy to do because I think the writing is perfect. And so he had such an amazing arc. It's the rare actor who gets to play a character for 100 episodes and 12 games or whatever it's been. That's rare for an actor to go that many episodes. The Simpsons, Gunsmoke, and soap operas are the people who get to do that many roles. But I mean, when I started it, I was sort of guided to do a higher version of my own voice because he was supposed to be younger and he's going to get older. And I did that. And I don't think I was successful at it. And when I watched the first episode, The fans agreed. I went on message boards after, because it was 25 years ago. There wasn't social media. It was all message boards.
Yeah.
The fans were like, what is this? And I remember my girlfriend at the time being like, the fans don't know. And I said, the fans absolutely know. Anime fans are on it. They get it. And then over the course of the next several episodes, I worked to drop it down into a more natural part of my own voice while still honoring the fact that he was a good guy and we knew he was going to be bad. But for the most of the show, of recording the show, outside of doing the first round of episodes and knowing he was going to be a spy, I had no idea where the rest of it was headed. So, and the beauty of these directors that direct us in these shows is that they know the canon. You walk into one of these recording sessions, they're like, okay, in the last 10 episodes since you were 10 episodes since you were here, and they rattle off everything that's going on, and you're like, oh my God, they're geniuses. These directors who direct these anime shows are geniuses. Carrie Keranen and Joe Freya and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, and they're all amazing. The Naruto ones are at the top of their game as far as that. But for me, I always just approached each episode with the intention of what I was trying to do. Was I trying to please Lord Orochimaru? Was I trying to get back at Sasuke? Was I trying, like, whatever it was? And so that informed what I was doing with the voice, because it was honest. It wasn't like I was trying to put some effect on my voice. I've done characters where you have an effect on your voice. I did an episode of a show where I was supposed to be a Swedish surfer. So he had a little bit of Swedish in him, but he also had some of this in him. Here you go, you got to do. And then I had to sing a song. And then I had moments where he had to be mad. And then I had moments where he had to laugh. And it was definitely interesting to have an affectation and then do your acting work. But for Kabuto, I got to come from a pure place of his motivation, which is always the best way to come as an actor.
Nice. And and going off of that, I will say this, because I know some of the voice actors I've met at previous conventions. I do have conversations with them about the character they voice and everything. Sometimes because some of them tell me, like, before they get to voice a new character, they have to do research on the character, what their take is, what their personality is. They also had to read the manga too. Yeah. So they can understand how. This is how we do this.
I would do that now. Like the next big thing, the next big, at the point where Naruto was rolling, I was really making my living as a television actor, doing commercials, all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't pursuing other anime. I felt complete with Kabuto, and Digimon Data Squad came along for a while that I did, and Zatch Bell came along for a while, which I did, but neither of those required me looking into the depth of the manga, for example.
Okay.
Then I got cast in Tiger and Bunny 2, the movie, which was a comedic role, and I did an audition for it. I just got the call, and they were like, "Hey, we got another asshole for you to play," which I was very excited to play. He was much more like Anchorman, Will Ferrell and Anchorman. So by the time that I got into they did the second season, and now my character was in it. Again, it was a comedic role, and so watching the first season was all the canon I needed to ingest. Mm-hmm. If I got put on another Naruto level show, I would 100%, but I didn't know to do it, but I would 100% be reading the manga and watching the dubs and all those things. I just didn't know to do it. And or the subs, I was so busy as an actor, I would forget about it and go do an independent movie, do a couple episodes of a TV show. I'd be writing a play, finishing every night, would finish the play, go back to the dressing room, put on my funny costume to do the sketch comedy. Like, I was literally doing 6 nights a week of live performance, working as an actor. So when the voice stuff came, it was like, yeah, let's fit it in and I'll be right over there. And they'd prep me. No doubt another one of those comes along for me. Another anime show comes along for me that has that kind of background to it. I would 100% be doing my research. 100%.
Yeah, because I saw on Instagram saying that you were involved in a new project. I didn't know what that was. I think it was a game or something. But I knew that, I was like, oh, he's doing another game. He's like, oh, sure, they invited him to come out. And guess I kind of figured you was willing to do it, because I don't mind doing another video game voice acting sequence. Because I know, like you said, as an actor, you are busy doing other stuff. You got other TVs and movies to
do. Gratefully, I'm very busy. But I also just love to do stuff. Like, I don't know what the job would be that somebody would reach out and say, hey, we've got this. I've said no to some jobs that are about in where it would be a character where it's like intense child abuse or something because I have small kids and I know what I would need to draw from in order to make that work. And I don't think I'd want to bring it home with me at the end of the job. And I've said no a few times to really dark stuff like that. I still remember an audition I had that I'm really grateful I didn't get the job, a movie like playing a sociopath. And I remember like walking around in circles in a courtyard that was in the middle of the studio, just walking in circles, getting myself into a really dark headspace. And it took me like weeks to pull myself out of that headspace. And I can only imagine what it would have done to me spiritually and emotionally if I had booked it, if I'd gone and filmed it. But otherwise, I'm down to clown. I just like to work, and I love to support other people's visions. And as an actor, often by the time you're in the mix, people have been working on that project sometimes for 10 years. And so I take it very seriously. If you're into sports, you'll get this reference. Like I treat being an actor as trying to win sixth man of the year. When they call on you, you want to come off the bench, especially being the kind of day player actor I am in most projects, guest stars and recurrings and coming in as a voice actor when they've already been developing the game for 3 years. You want to come off the bench when they call you. You want to hit a high percentage of your shots. You want to be a good locker room guy, and you don't want to get caught in the strip club.
Oh.
That's the whole thing. Be easy, be kind, bring ideas, and crush it. That's how I approach all these jobs.
That's right. And sometimes just know your limits. If I can't do something, I just can't do it. Just know your limits. That's the part. You don't have to do everything. That's one thing I've learned. You don't have to do everything.
Oh, don't tell me that. I like to do everything.
So I just trying to stay optimistic, All right, this next one, I think you're gonna like this one because actually you've worked with Steam Bloom in a few scenes with him as Oromachu. Did your interpretation of Kabuto evolve as the story shifted from Oromachu's right hand to a major antagonist? Because as I said, you worked with Steam Bloom. He was the main antagonist in the Naruto series.
I didn't work with him. You've made a similar comment about Yuri, so I've got to explain this to you. For dubbing, we are never in the same room with each other.
Oh, okay.
So you're in. No, don't need to be sorry. Most people don't know that, but it should give you even more respect for the people like Yuri, like Tara, like Bryce, Paper and Brooke, who do so many anime, is that they are never with their fellow actors. And so there are times where you're the first, where if you're first, and I've been first before, if you're recording first, you're recording with every other character speaking Japanese. And you set the tone, you and the director set the tone for the episode. And then sometimes you're last and you come in so it would vary. Sometimes I was hearing Steve in my head and absolutely that was adjusting what I was doing. I was responding to it. And sometimes he was hearing me.
Okay.
It really came down to the content. It really came. And the other thing is we didn't do the same thing the Japanese voice actors did. Last summer, I got brought to a convention for 5 hours. It was such an honor and an opportunity. I said yes to one of the hardest turnarounds I've ever done. I was shooting a commercial in LA. We wrapped on a Friday at night. We were shooting again on Monday, which meant I had to be back on Saturday in case flights got delayed. I went straight from set to the airport. I got on a plane. I flew on a red eye to Houston. I went straight to the convention hall and I did a 3-hour signing in the same, one table down from Kana-san, who is the original Japanese voice actor for Kabuto. But I've been a fan for 25 years and never met him.
Oh.
And then I got back 4 hours later, I went back to the airport and flew home. It was the craziest turnaround. But Kana-san does, the Japanese voice acting is so much more level and controlled than what we do. We're a far more outrageous, unhinged, emotions out worn on our sleeves society than Japan is as a stereotype.
Okay.
So they're wonderful actors and we would listen to them, but it wasn't like we ever copied no one copies the performance of the original actor. So yeah, I definitely took influence from what I was hearing from Steve, I'm sure. But the art is so good that really informs most of it.
Okay.
You know,
And just to make sure, did he and from what I've heard, like making sure, I just want to make sure this question was right. Did you interpret the way that Kabuto's was evolved throughout the story of Naruto as him being just like Orochimaru's right hand to just be a major antagonist, kind of sort of?
yeah. Well, yeah, I was excited when it happened
Hmm.
because it was fun to play the sycophantic, toady right hand man. It was fun. It was fun to have him have his flashes of being the leader and then watch him have to cower. Was always such a fun turn. Sometimes in the same scene or episode. Um, I wish I could remember the name of it. There's a really early video game I did, original game, where I played. Art Kurum was the director. I was supposed to have like all this mangled jaw, and so we literally filled my mouth with aluminum foil.
Really?
We put, because he was like, I really want to make this uncomfortable for you, and this guy was a real artist. And I think he went into software development. He was such a genius. But I loved working with him, I was like, how do we do this? How do we really? He was like, what do you? I was like, I'm willing to do anything. Let's like try things people wouldn't normally do. He's like, what if you put stuff in your mouth? And I want to say even like we got tinfoil from the kitchen of the recording studio, to like get a hold of it and to try to find what that was. I forgot why was I talking about that? What were you talking about just now? I completely lost my train of thought. I got lost in the memory of working on that job.
Take your time. Listen, I want to get as much detail as I understand your story.
Like I haven't even, but I'm so lost. The reason I got completely lost my train of thought is I haven't thought about that in 20 years. But that was like that was a genuinely nasty, evil character. And so there was, that's what it was. By the time we got to the like transformation into Sage mode of Kabuto, where he's becoming a snake and it's maniacal laughter, it's like that kind of mustache twirling, evil genius stuff. I grew up with TV shows and movies where everybody was doing that. And in the modern era of media, with mumblecore movies that came out and method acting, so much of what, even commercials look like little movies. The acting is very dropped in and real. Everything is really honest. I think reality programming made us crave TV shows that are more real. The hit shows are single camera television shows. They aren't the sitcoms with a live studio audience. It's much more the ones that look like little movies, like The Office. And the acting in The Office, even when things were outrageous, was very real and honest. So most of what we do as actors, even in voiceover, is people telling us, yeah, you got to make it more real. Play it more real. Play it more honestly. Where's the honesty? I want to believe you. And so to get to do that role of Kabuto, which at times is like a cackling maniac. Like when I go to set for a comedy and I do the first take and then the director goes, can you do it bigger? Can you make the acting bigger? I'm like, here we effing go. Yes. Yes, I can. So with Kabuto, that was like super thrilling to get to do those transformational scenes where he's really losing his mind. It was great.
Yeah, hey, listen, the fans want something, people watching, they want something that feels like it's real. I was like, oh shit, this is real. We gotta go hide somewhere. So it's like basically out of a horror movie. Like, this shit's real. We want to make sure it's be like they just cling to the edge of their seats and be like, oh Lord. Yeah, I don't want to know what happens next. It's too real, kind of sort of. But and like I say, the more real you make it, the more evil and malicious and maniacal these villains are, the better the story's going to be.
Yeah, it's more fun too.
So, we're almost done with this section. Do you have a favorite Kabuto moment or line that sticks with you?
Dreams don't come true when you're dead.
I remember that part he said. That was a good line. I was like,
it's that. And it also came out of the first battle with Naruto, which to me, Mary Elizabeth was directing that episode. That was the first episode of Naruto that I really felt like I understood the craft. I wasn't thinking about matching the lip flap. I wasn't thinking about the timing of the beeps. That battle, I just was acting. And I still remember the moment where I looked through the booth window and Mary Elizabeth was like, you got it. You get it. and now we're going to go fast. And like, she was smart. She's such a beautiful actor and beautiful voice director and wonderful person that she just understood her actors. And the moment that it became easy for me, I think she understood we needed to roll with it and enforce that. But that was a big turning point for me as a voice actor. And that's my favorite line for Kabuto. When people come to conventions and want me to autograph a Funko Pop and they're like, I want a quote, that's the quote. Dreams don't come true when you're dead. Pretty good.
I think that should be the quote of a lifetime. Don't change it. Please do not change it. Keep it. It sticks with you. So, number 10. How do you feel about Kabuto being both loved and hated by fans? Do you enjoy playing a villain?
I do. I love playing a villain. I also, people are very kind about it. They're very quick to say, I hate your character. You did such a good job. But there are people who hate that character. I think people love the character deeper. I think, like, I don't know, like, it's like your friends who have the most drama also can love you the deepest, right? Everything has balance. And for the first time at a convention in Phoenix, 3 really funny guys came up and wouldn't lay off that they hated my character. And I just kept laughing. I just kept saying, thank you. Like, no, we hate your character. And eventually we just kept talking to him and laughing. And I finally said, you realize I didn't write the character. And if you hate him, that's part of the intention. And so eventually they kind of came around. They're like, all right. But I play a lot of assholes. And so if people don't like him, that's partly the point. But Kabuto also connects with people, the other side of the pendulum. He connects with people in a different way because he's an outsider and he's an outcast. And there's a decent sized percentage of the people who love my character who have come to me, a decent percentage of the people I've talked to. I don't think it's a marker that these are the people who love the character, but a lot of people have come to me telling me stories of struggles with mental health and struggles with their identity and struggles with their sexuality or their gender or their home life, and that the show carried them through that and that they really associate with Kabuto. And I think part of it is his duality and his hard story that put him where he is and people not understanding him and him wanting to be loved. So I think that's the answer to the question. It feels like a great honor. And I've had people come to me at these meet and greets and these conventions sobbing into my shoulder, and I'm crying too. I remember the first time it happened, somebody's like, I'm so sorry. And we pulled away and I was crying. I was like, it means the same thing to me. This is not nothing for me. Right. This work I do is not nothing. The gift that remember, it's why I got into this was to give people joy. And so the unseen benefit that there's people that I've given peace or love or catharsis or connection, the reason why I still do it, why I would still do it if there was no money in it.
I understand. Gotta have those little life lessons, man. It will carry you a long way.
So far?
Yeah. All right, so we're halfway done, so let's get into it. So part 3, beyond anime, stage hosting outer roles. So you've hosted shows, voice heroes like Golden, Ryan, and Tiger and Bunny, and acting on stage. How did you switch between those worlds?
I just understanding the assignment was everything for me. It helps to be a writer. I'm a writer and I've produced things, so I myself could understand what I needed from different actors at different times. So that helped. But also having a diverse love for different types of media helped. I loved Star Wars and Star Trek and those sorts of things, but I also loved sketch comedy shows that were completely different. I loved new, I loved old. I consumed a lot of things. And so I just never had a problem. And look, maybe if I'm not trying to wax poetic about it, it might also be true to say that I would just want it to be good. And so I taught myself how to acclimate to different scenarios. Maybe it goes back to the military life of learning how to sort of, now we're on base and we have to act like military kids. Now we get to be kids. But I just have never had a problem switching from thing to thing once I understood the world.
Okay. Yeah, because I know. Oh, I was thinking when I was looking you outside. I know voice acting wasn't the only thing you wanted to do. You wanted to try to at least be uh how can I say this? You want to try to be at least diverse of in all the shows you've been in, trying of all the roles you've gotten. Because I know you was like, I was destined for more than just this one thing. Let's see if I can make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, sure. The thing is, I the only pushback I'll give you on that is the just the voice actor thing. Like
Okay.
my friends who are 100% voice actors, are better. That's what they do. They specialize in it, and they're amazing. There's also something to be said for not continuing to hammer at something that's hard to get through. So like I had been doing, sure, I did Kabuto and all these different anime and some voiceover and stuff like that. But I know a lot of people who at some point in their acting careers are like, well, I hardly ever book voiceover. I'm just going to stop doing it. It's annoying. But again, I treat the auditions like a creative process. So for me, I don't feel like I'm wasting my time if I do an audition and I don't get the job. So like I know actors who quit doing, I remember talking to an actor. I was like, I basically was doing Kabuto. I wasn't booking other voiceover jobs. And I was talking to this commercial actor who's like, yeah, I quit doing that because I never book. And I was like, well, I don't book that much, but I love doing it. It's fun. I have a lot of fun doing it. You never know. And a year later, I was the voice of Volkswagen for 3 years in all their commercials, and I got paid. I got paid. So like, and then, and also did a bunch of animated. I got picked up by someone to do a bunch of their animated sketch content. And then now I got the Loud House episode. I've been wanting to be on a Nickelodeon animated show my whole career. And if you looked at those jobs and said, is it worth 4 times of self-taping yourself on your laptop a week? Some actors would say it's not worth it. Just like some voiceover actors would say, I've been putting myself on tape for TV shows for 20 years. I can't get it going. It's not worth it to me. But some actors would be like, why not try? It's so fun to do different things. So probably it's not like I made it as a voice actor and was like, I can do better than this. It was more like everything hit at once. The hosting happened, then the commercials the hosting happened, the TV shows happened, then the commercials happened, and the voiceover is happening. It all happened at once. And to the point where other actors were saying, dude, you're making a great living as an actor. You got to stop doing plays for free, and you got to stop doing table reads, and you got to stop doing these sketch things. I was like, why would I? I love all of it. But it was never, ever, ever a situation where I was doing any part of my career and saying, this is beneath me. The first job I did in LA was I helped a friend make a short film, and I held the boom mic. And I was talking to older actors who clearly felt like they shouldn't have been on this short film, and they were resentful. Oh, that's not true. That's not true. That's where I talked to the person who was into it. That's what it was. I'd done a short film with an actor who felt like he shouldn't have been there. It was the worst experience of my life. Then I was holding boom for a friend of mine short with a veteran actor who was like, I expressed this experience. That's what it was. And he was like, yeah, why would you, if you think the job is beneath you, it is, and don't do it. And then by not doing the jobs you think are beneath you, you leave an opportunity for guys like me at the time to get to do a short film who would have been thrilled to be there. And the lesson there for me is be excited about every job, because you never know the great experience you'll have, but you can't go into them looking down on them, or you can't be doing voice jobs saying, oh, but I should be on camera. And I don't think anybody does. I don't think anybody does that. I think everyone's excited to get to do the work that they do as a creative, I think.
Exactly. And listen, some things don't come gift wrap. Like some direction is better than no direction. As long as you just keep doing the stuff, keep doing it, no matter what role it is, it's going to be rewarding in the end, because people will know all the good work you've done.
Yeah, but also maybe it's not about what people's feedback of it is. You mentioned earlier, like, what's your legacy going to be? It's like, yeah, maybe, but also in 100 years, no one's going to know who you are no matter what you did.
Right.
So like maybe there's something about just being in the moment and making things that make you feel good.
That's all that matters too. No need for all that stuff is just noise. We don't need noise. We're just trying to make sure we do something that's going to make our lives sustainable and make ourselves happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see, you were in on roles like you were in like shows like Moriarty, right? Moriarty. Like
Moriarty in Watson, Professor Moriarty is the role I was talking about, where I played all the
okay,
different British characters and switched hats and all that. Yeah,
okay, because you said you won awards for that too.
yeah.
It must have been special. What did theater give you that voice acting didn't?
Oh, I think they're super related. I mean, a lot of the people that I know from voice actors, or very often
Okay.
in on-camera acting, you're finding the version of you. They can find you and put you in. In television, like in theater, I could play an 80-year-old man. In college, there were 25-year-old people playing 80-year-olds because they had to, because everyone was 25. And then you go to New York, like, and there's distance between you and the stage. So you could play, you learn how to do your own makeup in theater. You do your own makeup in theater. You
Wow.
learn how to do scars and noses and eyebrows and change your face and do lighting stuff with makeup. In TV and film, you have people who do that. And if they want somebody like me, but who's 5 years older, only one time in 25 years has anyone ever aged me up in a job. Well, one time I got aged from age 18 to 80 in a commercial. But only one time has a director really loved me and been like, oh my gosh, I want to use Henry, but I wish he was 10 years older. Let's give him some bags. Hey, man. And so that's the thing that theater brings, is you get to play all these different broad characters that you don't get to play in TV and film, because they can just find somebody who looks like you. And again, it's also grounded in real versus in theater. You need to stretch your voice. You need to do dynamics in a way that you don't do as much with TV and film. They do it with editing.
All right, so onward to the next question. You have a podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How does your podcast Clipcast, because I can see the hat you're wearing.
Yeah.
So connect with your creative side compared to your anime work?
Well, I love sports. I love basketball. Shortly after not making the soccer team, if you've made it this deep into our marathon podcast, I really found love having school spirit and cheering at pep rallies, not as a cheerleader, but like as a fan. And found that I loved being a fan at live sporting events. And so around the time I was a huge basketball fan. And when I moved to Los Angeles, I'd never lived in a city with a professional sports team. I'd only lived in small towns.
Oh.
And the Clippers had a deal where you could, I went to buy new tires for my car, and for every tire you bought, you got a ticket to a Clippers game. And so I went to a Clippers game and had this incredible time. It's just such a low key vibe. It's family friendly. It's not as Hollywood as the Lakers, although I was also a Lakers fan at the time. It just felt more loose and fun and not as fancy. And then the Clippers had a deal. They were such a terrible team at the time. They had a deal where if you bought one season ticket seat, you got the other one for free. And we were sitting like half the distance from the luxury boxes to the court, and we were only paying $800 a seat for the entire season of NBA basketball. And basically being, performers and comedy guys, me and my buddy who got the tickets, we started getting on the Jumbotron, the big video board, and very quickly the team came to us and we're like, we want to start how can we involve you guys in the game? You're so funny on the video board. We do like routines and dances, and it's just another example of how I always have tried to figure out how to turn one opportunity into the next. We said, hey, if you let us do comedy videos, we'll do comedy videos for you, and we'll do a comedy rap, and we'll do comedy videos, and just give us free season tickets. And they did it. And so for a couple of seasons, we would do videos for them and come down on the court and lead a cheer, and we got free basketball tickets out of it.
Wow.
And so quickly that transitioned into us starting a podcast during the podcast era. But for me, especially, it gives me now, by the way, after everything you've heard about my background in theater and sketch and all these things, then my wife and I got pregnant, bought a house, had a second kid, and all of a sudden my responsibilities grew. So a lot of the freebie theater stuff and things like that kind of needed to take a back seat temporarily.
Right.
And the podcast gives me a way that I can be creative in my home office. Literally, like even when we had babies, it'd be like, we'll do the podcast at 9:00 at night. We record from our home studios. We edit them together. It sounds like we're together. There's no lag.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's mostly given me open access to creativity. That's the answer to the question.
That's sweet. And like I said, nothing, it's important. Family comes first. And it's nice that you found a way. Like I said, until something comes up in the meantime, and I know a lot of you guys, y'all have other careers like voice acting, as I said before. It's like until something else comes up, what can we do in the meantime?
Yeah.
So that's how I went back. That's why I went back. Like for me, I went back to school so I can use a cybersecurity program, so I can have something to do until like the next episode of a podcast or another big opportunity presents itself.
Smart.
So number 14, do you approach commercials like GoDaddy or Hyundai with the same character building mindset as anime roles?
Well, commercials, that's interesting. Commercials are a little bit more of a technical and short form. They're short form and they're a little bit more technical. There's pure comedy often, but the directors of photography, the cinematographers that you work with in commercials now, like in the last couple of years, I've worked with the director of photography for the Coen Brothers movies, for Mank. Last year, I shot a commercial with the director of photography from Top Gun Maverick. Like these are real directors of photography, and these directors are real directors. Like they're shooting pilots. They're represented by CAA and 3 Arts, and like they're real artists, and they're filming these commercials like real films, like short films, and they're also all making films all the time. And so it isn't like it was 20 years ago where it's like, I'm flying my Millennium Falcon around. Hey, Mom, I love Star Wars by Kenner. Like, it's not like that. If you think about commercials, they're all small films with massive budgets, like $1 million a day budget or something wild like that. So I approach the craft of acting the same way, which is that I want to play my intentions, keep it honest, keep it authentic. But it's rare that you're needing to build a full-size character. It's much smarter to associate it to your own point of view and think of it that way. But the other thing is when you audition for a movie or a TV show or what have you, the process, you have much more time for the rehearsal process and the shooting process. And in commercials and in voiceover, and improv, it's more it's more about being able to move quickly. So when you're auditioning for a TV show or a film and they give you a note, you're allowed to take a moment and ingest it and think about how maybe walk around the room, and then you do another take. In commercials, in an audition or a callback with a director, you'll be in the middle of the take, and some directors will just say a line and you'll stay in character and you'll use that line. And they film that way. So like it would be a struggle if I hadn't ever done commercials to work in commercials, because often you're in the middle of the take and the director's just like, yeah, but maybe I had to go get a Hyundai, and you just stay in character and you say that line. And in the commercials that I do, I'm working with literally some of the funniest people in the industry are directing and writing commercials and casting commercials. So, and again, I really invite you, if you're rolling your eyes at that, listening to this, to watch a commercial. They aren't cheesy, corny looking. It's not infomercials anymore. They're these little scenes with great nuance and tiny moves and little thought changes so it's become a really gratifying format to work in. But it's much more about the technical aspects and staying as honest as possible to tell the story.
It's nice. And in some of those different areas like commercials, anime, TV shows, video games, etc., you just need to make sure you know how to adapt to different environments. And you've known how to done that with these commercials that you've done.
Yeah.
So let's see. Number 15, out of all of your non-anime roles, which has been the most fun or the most challenging?
The most fun was being the dad on 100 Things to Do Before High School, the Nickelodeon sitcom. I grew up watching Nickelodeon. I grew up watching a show called You Can't Do That on Television. I always wanted to be a dad on a sitcom. And it was such a wonderful experience. The creator of the show, Scott Fellows, who I think also created the Fairly Odd Parents animated series.
Yeah.
But he created it. I think we talked about it many times. I think he based my character of the dad on himself. I was a new dad. They used pictures of my real daughter, me holding my real daughter as a baby on the refrigerator, because my daughter looks a little bit like Isabella Merced, like she's a little bit olive complected with brown hair.
Oh.
And it was in such an amazing moment in my life of being a brand new dad. Like when I was late to the table read, because right as I was getting ready to leave the house, my daughter threw up on my jacket and I had to change real fast to go. So that is my favorite experience of my career, non-anime, was that show. The most challenging of my career, one of the first independent films I ever did, first independent film I ever did was a movie called Boppin' at the Glue Factory, which they changed to Junkie Nurse. It was like a very small budget film, but I was the lead in it. And I wanted to prove that I was like a team player, and they wanted me to move a 40-inch tube TV, the old kind, not the flat screen kind, the old kind, maybe 30, but big, heavy. And they're like, well, we can clean this out. It's going to set us back an hour, but we'll get everything out of it. And I was like, I can do it. And I picked it up. I did like literally, if you wanted to injure your back, it's the move. I picked it up, turned at the waist, and set it down. And 2 hours.
Okay.
2 hours later, they were driving me off set in an ambulance on a backboard, and it set production back 2 weeks. And then I did the rest of the shoot. I'd rehearse on a walker, and then I balance myself, and they'd get the walker out of the shot, and I do the scene, and then they'd bring the walker back, and I'd go back and get massage in between every scene. That's the most challenging of my career, without a doubt.
You know, and listen, what's best about these like opportunities? They give you like a lot of fun and creative stuff to do. It sounds like you had fun compared to like all the stuff you had to do. Like there was like a lot of steps involved to make sure this movie was set. And I know you had to take a break in between, but I just didn't expect this much coming from you.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's, again, if you love the process of it, isn't that what's saying? Like it's about the journey, not the destination. There's times where some of the projects I've had the most fun doing never aired. Some of my best roles in my career were on television pilots that didn't get picked up to series, and that means no one's allowed to watch them. Like I did a pilot a couple of years ago. I was like the fourth billing or fifth billing guest star. I was Elizabeth Hurley's boyfriend in a pilot. It was one of the greatest experiences professionally of my career. They didn't turn it into a TV show. I filmed it at the CBS Radford studio lot. They didn't turn it into a series. No one was allowed to watch the pilot. No one has ever seen it except the studio executives. So you just have to love what you do, and you'll never work a day in your life.
That's the same thing I told all the people I talked to. I was like, hey, choose a job that you love, and you never have to work a single day in your life.
That's right. Then you just have to figure out how to pay your bills.
Exactly. That's the other trick.
I'm knocking wood while I say that.
All right, we're at the last section, part 4 of life and reflections. So you also do surfing, right?
Yeah.
You're also a surfer. Does time in the water help you reset creatively too?
It does. I don't surf I've not been surfing as much because, frankly, I got a daughter starting middle school, and I have started to become, and a son who's still in elementary school. And I think I've become very hyper aware that childhood is halfway through for them. Mm-hmm. And so I'm surfing less because I'm spending every free moment I have with my kids and getting as much time with them as I can. So most of the surfing I do now is when we go as a family to the beach, which we're able to do a fair amount, but I used to surf 6 days a week. But what I got out of surfing, I started surfing at a time where I was in great emotional and creative crisis. I was depressed and frustrated with my career, and somebody got me into surfing. My podcast partner, now that I think of it, said, you got to try surfing. And I glommed onto it so hard. And literally within 6 months of starting to surf was when my career took off. And I'm convinced it's because I had something that made me tired, you had to be exactly present if you're on a wave and you're thinking about something else, you fall off the wave. You have to be fully focused. Even if you're on a wave and you turn to look, is somebody on the beach looking? Is my family looking? You fall. And so I think it gave me that and started my career. And probably mental health wise, it gave me stillness in a way that I had tried to achieve with yoga and meditation and other things that had never worked. Surfing, the bobbing up and down on the surfboard, the waiting, the staring out to sea, that gave me the ability to be in the present moment in a way I hadn't found before. Plus it's fun.
Gotta find something fun. Yeah, I think you know. I know you're gonna get back to surfing at some point, but at least it's something that keeps you calm. Listen, sometimes I like to go out and go for a run at these parks. Like I like going to like Triple Park, like right down the street, because I want to be away from everything and just enjoy nature. So it's kind of like that same kind of situation.
Yeah, you got to clear your head. But what's that expression, right? Touch grass. We're too much on our devices. We're too self-aware of everything all the time. You know, I'm trying to keep my kids from being addicted to phones. We're all addicted to our phones. It started for me when the business shifted to emails and having access to a phone all the time. Because then every time I opened my email, there was a decent chance I had a job or an audition. So it became something that was immediate. It wasn't like getting dopamine hits off of social media. It was, ooh, I bet you if I open my email right now, I'm going to see I have an audition or a renegotiation or a check came through or whatever. So I think anything you can find in your life that is not screen related is pretty important. And if it's outdoors or in the water, for me, I'm a water guy. So even when the pandemic happened and we weren't going to the beach as much, being in our pool, or like we do a little above ground pool. We're not fancy. But when the summer ended and we took the pool down, I bought an above ground inflatable hot tub. Like being in water is good for me. Real good. And if I didn't live by the beach, I'd have to live by a river or a lake or something.
Nothing wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
Nothing wrong with that. If you could go back and give advice to your younger self starting now, what would it be?
I think the only regret I have is that I got into a improv program called the Groundlings, and it was challenging. And at the exact same, it's like where most of the Saturday Night Live people came out of the Groundlings or UCB. And
Right.
I at the point where it became challenging for unimportant reasons, I had a friend who got a TV show on Comedy Central, a talk show, and he was hiring me to do sketches. And I was dreading my improv class at the Groundlings and loving being on a television set. Of course I was. And so I just quit the Groundlings. And it's the only thing I've ever quit. And so I think that's maybe I would go back and tell my younger self, stick it out in that program, because now 20 years later, I work with the Groundlings all the time. I do commercials with them. I audition with them. They're my friends. They put me in their projects sometimes. And I do wonder what things would look like if I didn't have the curiosity of quitting, because it's the only thing I've ever quit. I even finish watching TV shows that are terrible because I don't want to ever quit anything. But I think I'd go back and say to myself, stick that out just so you don't have that feeling of you gave up on something. Because I think there's ways in which I've tried to compensate for that disappointment in myself. And things worked out great. It's not like I think I would have been on SNL. I know really talented Groundlings who have not gotten on Saturday Night Live. It's not like that's automatic. I like what my career is, but I'm always going to know that I gave up on it. And I wish I hadn't.
Yeah. You know, sometimes, you know, even though, hey, listen, even when I was a kid, I didn't expect to be doing all these kind of extraordinary things.
Yeah.
I just kind of like just stuck with it and see how it worked out for me. Like now I'm getting to talk to you guys because y'all very special people.
It always works out. It always works out. It always works out. Absolutely. I mean, and to tell you the truth, when my kids are in high school and they don't want to be around me anymore, I probably will go back and take it. And I'll go back into that program because I just need the completion of it. And I bet you it's going to be me with a bunch of 18-year-olds and I'm going to feel like an idiot. But when I took the class at 26, there were all these like retirees and 55-year-old people. I remember being like, how cool they're doing this. Well, it's going to be me because I will finish it. But you can never quit. Unless you're like in a bad situation, an unsafe situation, I just don't think you ever quit something you commit to.
No, don't quit. Three more questions. What's one life lesson you've learned through acting that you carry outside of the booth?
Everyone deserves to be seen for what they do. Everyone deserves, there's no, everyone in a team is of value and deserves to be seen. And so the engineer that's running the board is not less important. If you've ever made a project and your sound didn't work and you don't have audio recording, you know that there's not a single part of the team that's not important. Or if your makeup didn't look good, or if you didn't get food on set. So I think to me, the most important lesson is that every person in a team has value. And what's come up for me, especially in the last handful of years of our business, with more accountability, with the Me Too movement and Black Lives movement and all of that, also is recognizing that my point of view is a very specific point of view in our world. And so by getting to do anime projects, especially that address so much identity and fitting into groups and all those different things, it's so many stories of young people who don't feel like they're a part of something or finally do. I think I've gained a tremendous life lesson in trying to see myself from someone else's shoes and not assume, like a lot of other middle-aged white guys, that if people are asking you to change language that you use or look at the world a different way, that they're just being PC or what they're, you know what I mean? I don't ever hear someone correct my point of view or point out something I've said that's landed wrong for them. My first instinct is never to think, well, they don't know anything. It's to think, oh, wow, why are they saying that? Like, they know that it doesn't feel good to them. How can I meet them on common ground and figure out if this is correct? So and I think anime has been big for that, and the entertainment industry has been big for that. I don't know if the average person comes in contact with as many people from different walks of life as I do doing what I do.
Right. And we all have to educate each other saying, hey, we're doing all these kind of things. We want to expand and open your mind to all these different types of universes that are out there.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah. It's a great gift. And I thought about it recently. I thought, like, last week, I remember I was so tired. We're doing all this work on our house. It's been a very hectic time. Daughter's starting a new school. Everyone's stressed out. It's a long process we're in with our house. And I just was sitting there at the end of the night. Everyone had fallen asleep and was like, wow, I'm just creative all day. And even like, I'm not glad, like, you didn't see this because we edited. I said I was going to step out for 3 minutes to talk to the electrician in our house. And it was probably 20 minutes. Again, I apologize.
It's okay.
But like, even as I walked away, I was like, I'm making decisions. I'm making decisions the best that I can make. This is maybe another life lesson I've picked up from the business, is that I used to finish an audition or a performance and tear it apart and say, I could have done better. I could have done better. And then I started to realize I approach every single decision I make in my life. I approach with the intention of making the best decision for myself and the people around me in a kind and fair way. So then every decision I make and every audition I have and every job I do and every interaction I have is the best I can do. It's not the best I could do if I was in a better headspace or if I prepared better, or if I wasn't tired or hungry or anything else. But you start to be able to forgive yourself when you really try to approach each thing you do in your life being present. And sometimes you fail. And then you say, wow, I could have done better if I had been more present. But then I start to look at everything I do very creatively. And I say, wow, well, again, sometimes I've had auditions where I stared at my phone for 3 hours instead of learning my lines, and I was terrible. That's the only time that I can look at something and say, wow, I blew it on that. It's because I didn't give it my full attention.
And sometimes, life is also about, not just remembering the good stuff, but also remembering the bad stuff that makes us who we are today.
Yeah, I agree.
Bad things are going to happen. We can't, it's inevitable. We can't stop it. But how do we learn from it? That's all.
Yeah, and you don't know what is bad. What is even bad? Like, there's been people who got canceled off of TV shows. 100 Things to Do Before High School got canceled after a season. I've since been told that there were people who wished it hadn't been canceled. I think it was a very close thing that it didn't stay on for 4 years. But within a year, I got onto Fameless, which is a hidden camera show where I got to be a writer. They were going to make me a writer. They didn't. They got canceled. But then by the time we did Prank Encounters on Netflix, they made me a writer for the second season. And that was one of the greatest creative experiences of my life. And it happened because my favorite project got killed. And the show got canceled. And a year later, Isabella was in the new Transformers movie. And now she's Hawk Girl in the new Superman movie.
Yes, she was.
She was in The Last of Us, this previous season of The Last of Us. If she's on Nickelodeon for 4 years, maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe she gets pigeonholed as a Nickelodeon star, and something different happens. But then maybe she becomes a pop star like Ariana Grande. Like any of these things that seem bad, maybe they're not.
Okay.
With the exception of personal trauma, obviously.
Yeah, definitely personal trauma.
But you grow from that too. You grow from that too.
Yeah. Number 19, going back to Naruto. Fans know Kabuto's art is about transformation. How do you relate that theme in your own life today?
I think that I can look at times in my life and regret how I have treated people. I think that, like, again, I think you get older and you look at things through a different lens. And I think I would have I always thought of myself as a good person, but I think could look at times when I was in my teens and 20s and say I was a careless person.
Right.
And so then for myself, I'm faced with needing to forgive that different version of myself. And that has helped me to also look at other people and look at how they are acting in a moment and say they're just being careless. The person who's cutting you off on the road is not an asshole. Well, they might be, but probably they're distracted or they're living through their own thing. So I think that's been big for me, has been looking at Kabuto's, seeing what a relentless sociopath and psychopath he was, and then look at what got him there, and then see what his redemption was in Boruto, and apply that to myself and say, hey, you only ever did the best that you could, and now you get opportunities to try to fix things going forward. I think that's the lesson.
And if I can, I dealt with the same thing, in high school. No, it was middle school section. I was hanging out with the wrong people. I was doing stuff that I was not supposed to do. But when I got to high school, I learned, hey, what happened to the kid I was back then when I was enjoying all these cartoons? So after going back to that lesson, I was like, oh shoot, let's go back to this. I went back over to the nerd side, which is nothing wrong with that. Now you see me doing all these kind of like, pretty much people call me a techno geek because I got all these gadgets, because I like doing these kind of things and having these kind of experiences, going to places I never been to before. Been to Mexico a few times now.
Nice.
But just trying to and pretty much, back then I'm doing like more what other people do like me. I'm trying to read more information these days. I want to make sure I have everything I have. Hence why I make sure I had every like references for you guys. Make sure I do my information, because it's nothing wrong with going and researching the stuff before you get into unknown territory. And listen, when I was in college, I did like a lot of photo shoots. I've been into unknown territory like so many times that I didn't take the time to understand like what's the purpose of this, what's the theme, what kind of story am I telling here. I was just so focused on just being known, just like being famous, but that wasn't the life I wanted myself. I want it's about like the story I'm telling. I want to have a normal life and still do extraordinary things. It's okay to I want to be away from the noise. But like for me right now, like I said, I do these things. I put information out there and let you guys think about it.
Yeah. I think that we certainly have become a society that opinions are more important than facts. So I think that like the ability to say also, hey, I better read about this and see if my instincts are correct, is a very humble way to go through life that's very valid. And I think that I've tried in recent years, when I realize I'm wrong about something in an argument, to stop and go, yeah, you convinced me. And people don't know how to handle it. Like, yeah, no, I'm going to fight more. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, you're right. We're not used to it. So I think the ability to pause and not just make everything about being right, but also not about winning the argument, but also about like learning from each other is pretty huge.
Exactly. Lastly, and this is a two-part finale question. First part, finally, what's next for you? Any projects you are excited about that fans should look out for?
Well, I'm very excited to be done with this construction on my house. That's the number one thing. Keep an eye on the Loud House because I have an episode coming out any minute. They just checked in with me about how I want to be credited. It was a very fun role, very exciting role. If you keep your eyes peeled, you're going to see me in commercials for Allstate, AT&T, and California Lottery if you live in California. Although it's going to be on social media, you'll see it everywhere.
Okay.
But mostly I'm just dadding it up and auditioning and all of that. You know that after the writer's strike, our business ground down to a halt. And now it feels like it's picking back up. So I'm waiting to hear if I booked a TV show that I can't talk about. But you also can find me on social media. I've been doing all these fan meet and greets.
Of course.
So I'm always down to go to these conventions. And a lot of people recently, since I've started doing podcasts too, are reaching out about getting their Funko Pops signed and their pieces of original art signed. Reach out to me. I can help you figure that out. So I've been having a lot of fun meeting fans. But Loud House and commercials right now are where you're most likely going to see me.
Okay.
In the immediate future.
Lastly, do you have any advice for anyone who's trying to get into voice acting or any other kind of like business career?
Yes. So I said I was going to come back to this. I'm glad you remembered. Be terrible as quickly as possible. Be terrible as quickly as possible. If you feel like you want to be a writer, write something and then find somebody in the AV department of your high school or your middle school or in the theater department or in the animation department if you're in a college and get them to help you make it. And if you want to be an animator, draw something. And if you don't think it's going to be as good as the shows you watch, good. But just start making it. You want to be a photographer, take a picture. And if you want to be an actor, act in something. There's no reason why animation couldn't be you filming a little character that you're wiggling back and forth in close up or moving the mouth up and down, make a puppet. But my advice, first of all, is to make content. I think that the number one way that people are breaking into my industry is with established property. It's with a podcast or a web series or a TikTok account that's very popular that studios and networks and streamers want to develop for you. It's much less common now, I think, to write a script and sell a script. It's much more common that something's very popular and they want to take it and run with it. But yeah, my number one advice is to just start making stuff. My number two advice, and actually this should probably be advice number one, is to study, is to take an acting class. And it doesn't need to be a voiceover class. I think improv is the number one tool for any performer or writer, is improv. Get into an improv class. If you live in a city that has Second City or UCB or Groundlings, Improv Olympic, comedy sports, any of those, and they have them in most major markets and even smaller markets. Probably there's a local, 100% an improv class in Savannah or what have you, where like you could just go take improv. Because that's really that's where the make 'em up starts to happen. And that's where all creativity comes from, is coming up with ideas. And then secondarily, an acting class would be great, but I would not at all try to make it about, I want to take a voiceover class unless you've taken other kinds of classes. Just take improv, just take acting. And let it be acting where you're doing scenes all the time. Because there's acting classes you can be in where, like, if you want to put up 3 scenes with the other students, you can. That's what it should be. And then while you're doing that, shoot stuff on your phone. Buy a tripod, shoot stuff on your phone. The microphone, like you're holding a great microphone, but it's wonderful. But also, all of my auditions, I record with my onboard microphone on my phone, and it all sounds great. So don't wait until it can be perfect to make it. Just make something and then see what you could have done better the next time. And then just make it because it feels good. Comparison is the thief of joy. So you can be inspired by the things that you love that are out there that are made for $1 million an episode, but you should never let them stop you from making the thing that you can make for free.
No. and you know, like you said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Here's the saying: you got to walk before you can run.
That's right. It's fun. The walking is fun also. The running hurts your joints.
Yeah. I think that wraps it up.
I hope so. We've been doing this for 2 hours, dude.
Well,
I'm so sorry. You should break this into a two-parter. Should we do a little throw? Or is 2 hours about right?
Don't worry, I'll edit this stuff out. I'll also I'll make sure to tag the work too, if that's okay as well. You know, I just
Tag what?
like I just want to make sure because I was gonna like collaborate kind of thing.
Yes, of course, man. I'll help you boost. It's at Henry Dittman on Instagram. I don't do TikTok. I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't do TikTok anymore. It's too addictive. I'm not on Twitter or X or whatever, but I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. I hope you boost everything, man.
Sure thing. I just listen. Every time at the end of these episodes, I always ask for consent first.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But dude, I've loved talking to you. Congratulations. I'm glad to be one of your first guests. Have you already talked to Danielle?
I haven't talked to Danielle yet. I did talk to Merc. I did talk to Merc last week.
Great. Tell Danielle I said, hey, I love her. I've known her forever. One of my first voiceover agents, we had the same agent. We've done some jobs together. We've been at some conventions together. She is a sweetheart. Please tell her I said, hey.
I promise I will.
All right, man.
Promise. All right. Hey, listen, enjoy the rest of your Friday. And yeah, it was great talking to you.
All right, buddy. Nice meeting you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Okay.